I don't know if we're having technical difficulties, but Carla is muted. Are you there, Carla? You're on mute.
I am here. So let's go back and start the episode again. So, welcome everybody to episode 111 of the Game Changers. I am your host, Carla, and tonight I'm turning up the heat with the brilliant Tom Phillips. Tom doesn't just know the game, he reads the plays before they happen, and we're about to pull back the curtain on the game behind the game. Big love to the TSA team for fueling this mission of amplifying voices and sparking ideas. This show exists because of visionaries like them and listeners like you. If you want fantasy football gold, perspective shifting stories, or a fresh way to see the world, you're in the right place. The Game Changers isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Let's get into it. Who is Tom Phillips? My guest tonight is a true force in the world of communications. Tom Phillips began his career in journalism before moving into PR, quickly rising through Seattle's largest agency to become its youngest vice president at just 29. At 31, he co founded his own firm and built it into the fastest growing PR agency in the Pacific Northwest, scaling to more than 25 employees in just 3 years. After a decade of success, he sold his stake and joined DDB, where he led global PR operations as managing partner. Tom was then recruited to run PR and investor relations for a publicly traded tech company, work that helped position for 6 billion acquisition by Microsoft in 2007. That began an 18-year career at Microsoft, where he held multiple leadership roles from cultural transformation and diversity and inclusion communications to overseeing government cloud engagement with US and international governments. After retiring in 2024, Tom returned to his entrepreneurial roots and launched UP Stream Communications, where he now serves as CEO and founder. Please help me welcome to the Game Changers, Tom Phillips. Hi, Tom. How are you tonight?
I'm great, Carla. How are you? I have to say that I don't think I've ever heard the word brilliant mentioned in the same sentence as me in your opening there, but I'll take it.
You are brilliant. I'm not sure why my microphone is being muted. It muted itself at some point every single second, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that tonight.
I think there's some people that wish that they had that button when I'm speaking.
Oh my God, I think it's happening when I'm speaking right now. Tom, let's talk about your career beginnings and early influences. What drew you into journalism originally, and how did that shape your approach to PR?
I was always interested in writing. Even as a little kid, I used to write letters to the editor of my newspaper. I think the first one got published when I was in fourth grade. My dad was a journalism professor. It was something that I also spent a lot of time as a young child recovering from surgeries on my legs and feet and whatnot, and so I had a lot of downtime, and so I could write and read more than your average kid. And so I got to college, and I was going to be a political science major, and then I realized I didn't really want to be a lawyer. No slight against lawyers, but I just didn't want to be one. And then I went into business, and that kind of flamed out when I realized that you couldn't just study for the final exam in accounting the night before and hope to get a good grade. And so I transferred to another school, University of Alabama, from the West Coast to Alabama, and kind of walked into a journalism class and just kind of fell in love with it. And that's what I ended up getting my degree in. I was going to be a sports reporter. That was the goal when I got out of college, but that didn't work out for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Which experiences at the University of Oregon had the biggest influence on your career path?
Well, my dad was a journalist. he wrote for the Washington Post for a time. He was on television and radio back in the old days. And then he taught journalism at Oregon State. And I didn't want to have him as a professor, so I went to University of Oregon. And at U of O, it was probably the biggest impact, honestly, was realizing I didn't like the accounting and statistics courses that I was having to take as a business major. And so I decided to move to something else. And so sometimes I think you learn things and you gravitate to them. And other times, in my case at Oregon, I learned something that I didn't want to do. And that kind of led me on another path, which is as clear as I can explain that. It just happened that way. I have nothing but love for the Ducks. I'm conflicted. Everybody around me thinks I'm strange because I grew up in Corvallis, so I'm an Oregon State Beaver fan. I went to school at the U of O, so I'm a Duck fan. I've lived in Seattle for 40 years, so I'm a Husky fan and Seahawks. And I went to school for a year at University of Alabama, so Roll Tide. And when they compete against each other, I'm very conflicted, and my family and friends think I'm crazy. It's like pick a team. I can't do it.
I love it. I have a question from people in the chat. Mason is asking, did you attend any games or cover any sports while enrolled in college?
I attended lots of games. I did not cover any of those games. And at U of O, going to a football game is quite different than going to a football game at the University of Alabama. I'll just start with that. At U of O, it might be jeans and a T-shirt, and see what happens. At Bama, it was put on your blazer and your tie and take a date. And this was a new experience for me. And I think I was too busy absorbing the atmosphere to think about writing for it. Plus, I wasn't working for the school paper or anything like that.
Yes.
Although, in hindsight, I wish that I had, because that would have been a really fun and valuable experience, I think.
So, what took you from journalism to PR?
Yeah, that's a great
happened
question.
there?
So I moved from Oregon up to Seattle. I didn't know a soul. And I thought I was going to be a sports writer. And I quickly found out that the only way I was going to break into sports journalism wasn't going to be in Seattle, which is a major media market then and now. And I was going to have to start in a very small town, east of the Cascades. And I had a line on a television station in Yakima, Washington, where I could have started out in TV, but I would have had to carry my own camera, and cover the high school sports scene I didn't know anything about. And the pay was $4.50 an hour. And so it was basically not even an internship. But back then, I probably could have found a way to live on it. But I just didn't want to, that wasn't what I was hoping for. And so I turned my attention to the next thing on the list, which is to be an advertising copywriter in an agency, because the agency environment to me was really exciting and cool. And, it was a younger person's game, and I was young at the time. And so I started papering the city of Seattle, all the agencies, with my resume and trying to get a job as a copywriter. And it was in the middle of a horrible recession in Seattle. No one was hiring. And I got a couple of casual meetings with agencies, never got close to a copywriter job. And long story short, one of the agencies I sent my resume to was a very small firm. And I talked to the creative director, and he said, yeah, I saw your resume. We're not going to hire any copywriters, but our head of PR saw your resume, and she thinks she's from the same hometown as you. And she thinks she might have either dated or known your older brother. And
wow.
And she said, he said, come on in and introduce yourself to her. And she doesn't have any jobs, but maybe she can introduce you to people in Seattle. And so I went in and I met her, and, a few days later, she offered me a project in PR to build a speakers bureau. And I didn't even know what a speakers bureau was. But I said, yes, I'd love to do that. And the pay was $250 a week to build a speakers bureau, which I didn't know what it was. And I remember going back to my little apartment in Seattle, and I called my parents, and my dad said, well, that's great, but don't you want a full-time job? Because this was kind of week to week. And I said, yeah, but I got to feed myself. He goes, well, why don't you hold out for what you really want? And
Yeah.
so I called the woman back, and I said, I got to turn down this great offer.
Wow.
But I got to tell you, I lied to her, and it ended up getting me a full-time job. I told her the reason why I was turning down the project is because I had just gotten 2 full-time job offers with other companies, and I had to go for the full-time. And I hadn't even thought, I'm a terrible liar. I hadn't even thought the lie out. Like, what's the question she's going to ask? She's going to say, who hired you? And I hadn't even thought it out that far. And I just pulled 2 names out of the hat, like Boeing and something else. And she said, that's great. Good for you. Nobody's hiring. Good for you. And click, hang up. And that was it. And I go, what did I just do? And she called me back like 2 hours later, and she goes, okay, we don't have room to hire somebody, but something about you we like. And if it's not too late, we'd like to offer you a full-time job.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so that
Crazy. It was such a luck time to get a PR job. I do have a question from Cujo. I'm gonna keep calling you Cujo, so don't worry about it. Tom, without giving away your age, Faith Bama and you all players you got to see in person.
Oh man. Well, if anybody follows Bama, one of my good friends when I was there was the quarterback of the team, a guy named Stedman Shealy.
Cool.
And that year that I was there, they won the national championship. And this will date me. Bear Bryant was still the coach at the time. And Stedman and I got to be pretty good friends, and we'd hang out together after the games because his girlfriend was good friends with a gal that I was, acquainted with. And so the 4 of us would hang out, and I thought that was pretty cool. At Oregon, there were some great players. After I left, guys like Marcus Mariota always sticks out as somebody that just set the world on fire. It kind of put Oregon on the map. For a long time, Oregon, particularly when I was there, was kind of middle of the road, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about, your first PR job.
Yeah.
How did you become the youngest VP at 29, and at 31, you had a leadership in Microsoft? Tell me all about this.
So you mentioned a lot of lucky breaks at the beginning. I would say 90% of my career has been based on being in the right place at the right time and making the most of that. And I've been blessed with some very lucky opportunities. And so the first was when I got hired at that little tiny firm by the woman who was from my hometown. She was pregnant at the time. She went out to have her child, and then before she came back, she informed the agency she wasn't going to come back. So I was the only one that knew anything about PR, and so they made me the PR director. I was 23 at that time, and every day I was just afraid I was going to get fired because I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to work with big, scary clients and whatnot. And I did that for 2 years, and then I got poached away by a bigger agency, one of the biggest in the city. And I went there at the age of 25, and that's the firm. And they had like 300 employees at the time, where I went from an account executive to a vice president in 4 years. And that kind of, again, a few lucky breaks along the way. I had a great CEO who believed in me, and so when I hit that mark, I thought, well, the next thing that I could check off the list would be to found my own agency. And so I left that big firm with another guy who was a senior vice president, and the two of us started our own agency in Seattle. And the funny thing is, it was just the two of us. We had no clients. We took no clients with us, even though we could have from the big firm that we were at. And we put all of our nickels and dimes and quarters together. And between the two of us, we had $10,000. And he put in $5,500, I put in $4,500, and that is what capitalized our agency. Wow. And that's what allowed us to have rent in a downtown office building for about 60 days and pay for a phone service. And we had about 60 days to try and find business. And that was thrilling and terrifying because no one was going to give us clients. No one was going to give us anything. And we had to scrape it and find people, find work. And we found work. And one of your previous guests, Scott Hoyt, was one of our very first clients. And he put us on the map as a new agency in town. And so, I'd like to say that I had a playbook that I followed from the time that I got into college until I got into the PR game and ran my company. I didn't. I if anything, the play was be flexible to float with the wind in the direction that it wants to take you. And that's what happened. And so I had that agency for 10 years, co-founded it.
I can't believe that. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what's the hardest leadership decision you faced as a young VP? And you just told me. And to have Scott Hoyt as your first, this is incredible. So it all started like this friendship with Scott Hoyt. It's all started that young?
Yes. Yeah. That was, 35, 40 years ago. And because it was just me and my partner, and Scott was with a big telecommunications company, and they had a crisis, and they put a call out to all the firms in Seattle to give them ideas on how to get out of their crisis. And Mark, my partner, and I, Mark Delaney, who's still a great friend of mine here in Seattle, we came up with some ideas, and we presented to Scott and his leadership team, and they were looking at each other going, who are these young guys? What's going on here? And long story short, they hired us to do a pretty meaty project. And from that, it turned into retainer business. And from that, we were on our way. And we did work with national companies and Alaska Airlines. And we went from 2 knuckleheads to about 25 people and, $2-3 million in annual hourly billings and a year. And but it was just, one opportunity, and you make the most of it, and you never know where it's going to end up.
What advice do you give emerging leaders about taking on bigger roles?
That's a great question. And I had to go through that many times when I was at Microsoft.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I've never taken on a bigger role, whether it was in my own agency with a big firm running a global PR operation, which I did also for 7 years, or at Microsoft especially. Never took a bigger role that didn't scare me. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And so the advice I would offer is, if you're not nervous about taking a bigger role, then something is amiss. You should be nervous. Yes. And even if it's something that you don't think well enough, be a quick learner and a good listener, and you get to ask questions as a new person, even in a bigger role, that other people might not ask because they'd be too embarrassed to ask, but you should ask them because you're new. And yes. I think I had 5 different jobs at Microsoft, and each one of them gave me heart palpitations because I wasn't sure I was up for the job that they wanted me to do. And some of it is honestly self-belief that you can get the job done. But I would say embrace the fear and use it to your advantage.
How did you maintain quality and consistency while growing quickly?
I would say if you focus on quality and consistency, the growth will come. If your goal is to grow, at all costs and quality or consistency falls by the wayside, then you're not going to grow. And so I would say focus on what is the accelerant for growth. It's quality, it's trust. I mean, in public relations, as much as AI is kind of taking over a lot of the creative process.
Yes.
And I thought about this a lot recently. In PR, it's still, AI is helpful and can be, but it's also relationship and trust and telling a client what is possible and what isn't, and helping set expectations and being clear. And so I think we always kind of had this notion that if we're consistent and offer quality, trusted counsel, then the growth will come, not the other way around.
100%. Tell me, what factors led you to your decision to sell your interest after 10 years?
We had, I felt, reached kind of the zenith for where we were going to go. And we either needed to acquire another firm or two, or be acquired. And
Yes.
neither one of those outcomes appealed to me. And I felt like I was ready for something new. After 10 years, you get to know your partner as well as you do your spouse in some respects. And
Yes.
Mark and I, like I said, he lives a block and a half away from me, and we are still great friends. But I think we both felt like, let's do something new. And maybe it's the analogy would be a band that had a great run, but some of the musicians want to go out and do something new or try a new genre of music or be a soloist. And so after lots of conversations, really good, positive conversations with my partner, he wanted to stay and build the entity. I was ready to move on and do something else. So I sold my interest in the company to him, and he had a great run. And then I went off and thought, and I took some time off before I decided, what do I really want to do? And
yes,
and so it was, and you have, as a partner in a firm like that, you have something called a buy-sell agreement that allows the parties to negotiate a good outcome for each party without it becoming, a personal, who's going to get more money in the sale of the company. And it was kind of preordained how the structure would work if one partner wanted to leave before the other one did.
What surprised you most about the sale process?
About the what process?
The sale process.
What surprised me the most? The thing that surprised me the most, I will say that when I left my own firm, the emotional tithing that I had to seeing my name on a company that people knew in the city of Seattle, and seeing checks come in with your name on it, I have to say, it's kind of fun. And so, your identity is wrapped up in some respects, in a lot of respects, in what you do and who you do it for and how you do it. And so with each role that I've taken or job that I've taken or company that I've worked with or for, there's a little bit of that. Like and it kind of surprises me the level of feeling that I have for whether it's my own company or somebody that I've worked for in another company.
What advice do you have for founders considering an exit, but they are afraid to do it?
I think if you're exiting, I think it's better to exit to something rather than to escape something.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And in my case, it wasn't an escape in that sense. It was, I want to just decompress, because it takes a lot of work to run your own business and to have employees and manage everything. And I was ready for just to exhale. And I had a sense for what I wanted to do with my next chapter, which was to work for a multinational company. I didn't know how I would get there necessarily, but I thought I've got enough on my resume now to, at least be a credible person that somebody might want to take a look at. But I really wanted to just kind of smell the roses a little bit and exhale and then get on to the next chapter.
So we were talking a lot about Microsoft, and you sent me something that really blew my mind, honestly. I never knew that Microsoft was offering jobs for people on the spectrum.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that? Because this is really important, especially with a mom that have a child on the spectrum as well. And I was intrigued. So what can you tell me about that?
Well, it's a wonderful story, and it was one of the things that really made me proud to be an employee of that company. And
I love that.
I only thought I'd last a year when I went into the company, and I lasted 18 years. Talk about sink or swim.
Yes.
But one of the things that happened kind of halfway through my career was we got a new CEO named Satya Nadella, who's still the CEO of the company today. And he changed the cultural vibe and makeup of the company. And he brought in more empathy and like, let's really reevaluate how we hire people, how we manage people, how we help people grow. And one of the programs that he was a cheerleader for was to hire people on the spectrum. Because a lot of times, in many cases, people that are on the spectrum are underemployed, not because they're not smart, but because they just are not employed to the degree that people with neurological, function that people would consider, more normal. Well, the fact of the matter is, and I know, and people on the spectrum can be brilliant. They can be creative. Yes. They can be funny and talented, but they need a chance. And so Microsoft started a program to find and recruit and hire people on the spectrum. And once hired, train managers on how to be a good manager of someone who's on the spectrum. And so we would hire coders and developers. And I saw a stat somewhere that 90% of the people, I think, on the spectrum are underemployed. And that's a shame. And so we started a program, we at Microsoft. And I was given the task of getting to understand that program and then trying to pitch that as a story to press. And I got a hold of a letter from a woman whose son had been hired by Microsoft on the spectrum. He got hired as a coder. And his name is Blake, and her name is Eileen. And I read this letter, and I literally got teary reading it because she talked about the impact that this program had on her family, that this son and brother that the family loves finally got a job with this company like Microsoft. So we said, you're coming out to Microsoft's campus. She was in New Jersey. And we want you to be a part of the story that we're telling. And so she came out. I met her in the main headquarter office building where Satya Nadella and the execs offices are. And I had to introduce her to the receptionist to get a guest badge. And I started to introduce her. And she held up her hand and she goes, Tom, do you mind if I do this? I go, no, go for it. And she looked at the receptionist and she goes, my name is Eileen Attickman, and my son works for Microsoft. And she got teary and she looked at me. I started to cry. She got her badge and she says, you have no idea what it means as a mother to say those words. Yes. And I said, I think I have an idea. And we took her in. She met Satya. She met the people with the program. And not only did Microsoft hire people, but they helped these new employees with life skills. Like, here's the best place to get an apartment. I'll help you get the apartment. Here are the bus lines that work. Here's the connector, the shuttle service. And so it's a pretty embracing environment. And we got Fast Company did a story on that program using Blake, Eileen's son, as the marquee part of the feature. And then CBS Morning News did 11 minutes on their Sunday morning broadcast about the program. And that was such a cool experience to know that. And by the way, these people that were hired and are hired to this program make Microsoft a better company, because one in seven people on the planet have a disability. And so you need to have a workforce that reflects the people and the audiences that you sell to. And so why wouldn't a company have people on the spectrum, or people that are visually impaired, or people that are hearing impaired, or mobility impaired? Why not? And so that was just a really cool experience that I got a front row seat to, that was super impactful for me.
Inclusivity at its best. I love that. I love this story because, as a mom of a kid on the spectrum, you always think, would he find a job? Would he go to college? Would he do this? Would he do that? Like, we have a lot of questions that we ask. And to read that story that you sent me about Microsoft having kids on the spectrum that they're being
Yeah.
employed, it made my heart so happy, and I wanted to talk about it on the pod as well.
Yeah.
So this is really amazing. I love it, Tom. Thank you
And
for
just
sharing.
as a postscript to that, there are also people on the spectrum that are not able to be coders or developers, but there were a lot of people that were hired into still meaningful jobs for them in food service or hospitality or something like that.
Yes.
And there were also, lots of people on the spectrum that applied for roles that didn't get jobs. But if that were the case, Microsoft would actively recruit them to other companies in the software and engineering and technology arena. And so it was goodness all the way around, and it still is.
You never hear these stories because you don't have someone from the inside, and an insider to come and talk about this. It makes the word like so different.
Yeah.
Like, I never knew Microsoft did that.
I know.
Like, for me as a person, I never knew. Thank you for sharing that. This is so important to me and to many people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Tom, Under the Hoodie Pod wants to ask you a question. And it's, what's one career move you didn't make that you wish you did? That's a really interesting question.
I don't have a lot of regrets. If I were honest, I think maybe give the sports journalism a little bit more of a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. I think professionally, my dad told me once that he never regretted any decisions he ever made. It's the one he didn't make that he didn't make that he regretted. A lot of the decisions that I had professionally were presented to me that I just had to say yes or no. And I mostly said yes, but I think that's a good question. Under the Hoodie Pod. I wonder who that is.
Yes.
I probably could have given it a little bit more of a chance, and see where that would have gone. But
so, Tom, let's talk a little bit about fantasy football. Do you play?
I play fantasy. I do.
So what did it all start? How did it all started?
It was several years ago. My son, Nick, who's now 31, was in a fantasy league with 9 of his buddies from high school and college.
Yes.
And one of the guys dropped out. And so they said, well, why don't we let the old man play? And so I got invited to be in the league. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was kind of stupid. Like, ooh, who cares? What? This is ridiculous. And now I'm just addicted to it. But I think the first year we got together in my son's condo for the draft, a bunch of guys, and I didn't even know how to draft. I think I auto drafted most of my team. I ended up winning that year, and I donated my winnings back to the league because I felt bad taking $1,000 off of Nick and all of his buddies. And then I've been in it for, I don't know, 5-6 years since, and I won it one other time, and it's just, it's fun. It's aggravating. It's crazy. It's like, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I love it. I do fantasy golf.
Just to let you know that we have Scott in the guest comment, and he just came in. and he said, ask him, how did he do this year? How did you do this year?
Well, Scott is a very bad person. Let's just get that out there. I finished GFL, but it was crazy. I was close to making the playoffs, and then I didn't. And then some crazy way the structure was of the playoffs, some guys that had worse records than me got byes, and I didn't. And so, yes, I finished last, and I have yet to do my punishment. I was going to do it at the FSGA conference in Vegas this past week.
What's the punishment?
The punishment is, you're a school teacher, you know this. When you're in the first or second grade, you have a thing called a recorder, which is like a flute.
Yeah.
And the punishment is that I'm supposed to play the flute at a high traffic venue, like a conference, like a football game, with a sign that says, I suck at fantasy football.
Oh, no way.
So we didn't get the sign ready in time for the conference in Las Vegas last week, but it's still on my list of things that I probably should do.
Maybe at the expo? Are you going to the expo?
If I'm forced to and play up the recorder at the expo, I probably would. But I think I'm busy that week, whatever week it is.
I'll force you. You're not. Come on, Tom.
Is that the one in Philadelphia?
No, it's in Ohio. So I heard that Scott is going.
Yeah,
you should be going.
That's in Canton, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, I can think of things I can't think of the thing I'd rather do than play the recorder in front of people in Canton, Ohio.
We will definitely record you and put it on the Game Changers and say, you heard it first here.
Yeah.
Chickened out. Scott, we're gonna make him do it.
Well, Scott and my son both think that if I ever do that, it'll be meme worthy on social. So maybe I'll do that.
Oh my God.
If I did it, I would do it as maybe a fundraiser for a charity or something, like
maybe Scott Fishbowl live.
And I'll stop playing.
Maybe Scott Fishbowl live. Maybe you never know.
Oh God,
that would be really good. So you were talking a little bit about the FSGA.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. How did it go? How did it go there?
It was great.
I know that you and Scott, you both went.
It was, Scott went, I went, Nick, my son, who works with me in my business today in LLC. We all went, had a great time. I think the best part about it, well, two good things for me. Nick is a great guy. You learn a lot. I learned a lot. I'm such a noob, but I thought it was interesting to hear about the regulations and the legality and the commingling of gaming, sports and gaming and betting, and what laws you need to pay attention to, and the advent of AI. So you kind of you work as a sponge and you soak up all the information. But for me, the best part was just getting to meet people and networking with people that have interesting businesses they're incubating, and and they all share a passion for fantasy sports and gaming. So it was really fun.
It is. So did you win anything there? I heard that a lot of people won some stuff, or was it like your first time just going to see?
I did not win anything. I did not lose anything. I did not gamble, but I did not win any awards or anything like that. I was there just to as a first timer to see what it's all about, and hanging out with guys like Scott Hoyt. It's like you're walking around the city with the mayor. They're kissing the ring and the whole 9 yards. I'm like, what's going on here?
Come on, Scott. Scott, I need to be with you at the expo then. This is what's gonna happen. I love it. You should come. I'm serious. You should come to the expo. It's a huge celebration as well. Yes, it's gonna be really good if you play the recorder there. Scott is saying, and that wonderful brand panel too. So
did have some
you
good
were
years.
in the panel with him because he said he was talking about a lot of stuff at the FSGA.
Yeah,
He didn't tell me everything, but I said to him, I'm gonna see you at Ohio, and he's gonna say we're gonna go live from there, and he's gonna say what he said at the panel.
yeah. No, it was good. His was good.
I love
I
it.
have to say that
I
to
love
everyone
that.
who's listening.
Yeah, I think last 2 years ago they did it in Boston. And I saw some people there. That was really interesting. Um, so let's go back to your personal, and work life, your personal leadership and work life.
Mhm.
How did you manage work life balance during intense growth phases, especially that you went through a lot through the years? How did you manage work life balances during that time?
Um, well, I have a very supportive and wonderful spouse I've been married to for 34 years. And so she's put up with a lot of me like working late hours and at Microsoft, lots of travel, international travel and stuff like that. So that's number one. I got two great kids, um, and Nick and Natalie, my daughter. And I think if I could boil it to one thing, I would say I've always tried to understand the moat between work and my life.
Yeah,
And I knew a lot of people at Microsoft and elsewhere where they were motivated by work and what's the next rung on the ladder that I need to get to. And I, I'm not sure I was ever that person. And I kind of always comforted myself by saying, if everything went to hell in a handbasket, if my agency cratered, if I got fired at Microsoft, I would be okay because I got things in my life that are actually more important than the job, and so that gives you a little bit of comfort. I will say there was a lot of stress along the way in different
of course.
different eras, but just kind of knowing that it's going to be okay, and that you work to live. At least I do work to live, not the other way around.
I love it. I love that you had a supportive and you still have a
Yeah.
supportive wife, because if we don't have a supportive significant other, it doesn't make life easy.
Hmm.
And having that life balance is so important.
Yeah.
Talking about life balances, what routines or habits kept you grounded through career highs and lows?
Um, I think I as I like serendipity as much as the next person, but I also like routines, and um, I I like getting up early in the morning, and even to this day, I like to read the newspaper. Most people that know me, including some who are on this call or on this in your chat room, and family members, think I'm an idiot for reading the newspaper. I
No,
love the
I
newspaper.
still love it.
I still love it. There's something more. It's I don't. It's tactile. It's like I love the smell of napalm in the morning and newsprint in the morning,
Yeah,
and so the routine is good. Knowing when to change up the routine. So like at Microsoft, having the opportunity to travel to different places in the world was really great in terms of rebalancing. And God, can't wait to get home. But how cool it is to experience something else in the world that I never would get a chance to experience had it not been for the job that I'm in. And so appreciating that, I think,
yeah,
is important. And find a time to enjoy the things that fill your tank. Like for me,
yeah.
it's fly fishing or playing golf or hanging out with my family or traveling, and never letting go of that.
I love that. Um, Tell me about your personal values and what they are and how they did guide your professional choices.
I uh, I don't want this to sound boastful, but I mean this sincerely. I care a lot about people that I work with, and particularly people that report to me. I hope that in my career I have not been a boss that has overlorded people, or that hasn't paid attention to them at a personal level, because I think that's hugely important. There's a saying at Microsoft that your job satisfaction largely depends on who you report to. And if you have a good manager, your experience can be incredibly fulfilling. And if you have a really crappy one, that can be hard. And I never wanted to be the crappy one. And sometimes that hurt me, I think, professionally. Maybe I was too easy on people, maybe. But I take that versus the other way around. Let me give you a quick example of how this manifested itself one time. When I had my own agency with my co-founder, we had a young guy who was a great account executive who knew how to work with the press, and he was in his early 20s. He had a Porsche, a beat up Porsche 914. It was not a fancy Porsche, but it was his Porsche.
Yes.
And one time he came in, he was pretty sad. He goes, my car's in the shop, and it's got $3,000 worth of work that needs to be done, and I don't know where I'm going to come up with the money. And my partner and I knew how much he meant to the company and how much we liked him as a person and how much he cared about this car, that we called the car repair shop and said, whatever the bill is on that green Porsche 914, we're going to pay for it. And when Brennan comes in to pick up his car, you tell him that his bosses paid for the car because they want you to be whole. And so he came back in after picking up his car, and he was, at that point, he was an employee for life because he knew that we had a depth of affection for that guy because he was a valuable member of the team.
Yes.
But it had even more impact than if we just give him a check for $3,000. We knew what made him tick. And so that's huge, I think.
That's amazing. It's not just huge. That's amazing. And I hope people hear that and they lead by example, because you made a change in that boy's life. And we need to hear more of this positive attitude, especially that you have a place that you can help people. And no, I would go with that anytime too.
Okay.
Like
I gotta give you the epilogue to that story. So that happened, I don't know, in the 90s. So it's 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. And wow. Mike went on to start his own PR practice, this guy with the Porsche, and had a very successful run. And he called me last week, and I hadn't talked to him for a couple of years. And he said, hey, TP, I hear you've started a new PR practice, and I'm retired now. This is Mike talking. But I've got a client that I think would be great for you to get to know. So he recommended a client to me in the telecommunications industry, of all places. And, you know, those things tend to
circle around
like a professional eddy.
I do believe in that 100%. If you do what, like 1% good, God gives you 10 times more. I do believe in this stuff because I do it and I have it. So kudos for you, Tom. That's really amazing. I love that story. What legacy do you hope to leave in the communications profession?
He was talented. He was a great writer, but mostly he cared about the people around him.
I love that.
That would be
Which is true.
Yeah.
Which is true.
You know, I'll tell you one piece of my legacy that some people think is hilarious. And I kind of chuckle at it now. When I had my PR agency in town, I got a call from a friend of mine who said, I've got a buddy who's starting a new business who needs a PR help.
Yes.
And will you talk to him? And I said, sure. What's your buddy do? What's his name? Well, his name is Jeff, and he's going to start a company to sell books on the internet. And I thought, well, that's a stupid idea, but I'll meet with him anyway. Well, it turned out I went to meet Jeff, and it was Jeff and one other guy, and I don't know what his name was, in a really rundown building in South Seattle, and it turned out it was Jeff Bezos, and he had this company called Amazon. And I thought it was still, he showed me, I sat down with him and he showed me how to, how it's going to work, and you buy a book here and it's going to get sent. And I'm to myself thinking, this is never going to work. You got Barnes and Noble, you got all these firms, and I didn't get we didn't really click all that well. And so I come back and I tell my partner about this guy named Jeff, and he was referred by a friend of mine. And so we didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And we kind of wanted to see how real he was. So I sent him a proposal to develop a PR plan, just to develop the plan, not to execute the plan, but to develop the PR plan. And we put a price tag on it that was going to let us know whether he was serious or not. And that at that time, the price tag was $25,000 to develop a PR plan. And that would have been normal for a corporate client to pay that much money. But and he called me back and he said, I really liked your proposal. Cash flow is an issue right now. But what I'm curious about is, would you consider some kind of a trade arrangement? And I'm thinking, well, I don't really need any more books. He said, I'm thinking of a percentage of my company in exchange for a year's worth of public relations from you guys. And the percentage was 0.5%, which made me kind of chuckle at the time. Well, guess what 0.5% of Amazon would be worth today? Multiple billions of dollars. And
oh my God. Don't tell me you didn't take it.
We did not take it. We did not take it. No, we had too many employees, and we had.
I know. Yeah.
And it was and back then there were 100 Jeff Bezoses, and 99 of them went bankrupt or never made it go. So you never knew which one of the 100
which one is going to work.
And given a year's worth of PR service, what does that actually mean? How many hours? How many bodies do you have to put against that? How many people are you going to burn out if this turns out to be a tough sell?
Wow.
And so we thought about it, but not hard, because we thought it was not realistic. And so some people say, what, how did you? We didn't know. We did not know.
It happens. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. Like, who would know Amazon would work? Look at it right now. It's booming.
So the legacy in some respects is I had great timing because I was in the right place at the right time, and horrible timing because I turned down deals that could have been very foolish.
It's like fantasy football. You never know who's gonna win or lose.
Nope.
So hindsight is 2020. You never know. So Tom, you left Microsoft in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
What's next for you?
So I took about 6 months off, and then I founded a new PR practice last April. So it's been 10 months now, called Upstream Communications.
Yes.
And it's just a PR consulting practice, and it's designed to work with people that are doing fun things, enjoy the work, work with fun people, including my son Nick, who's a part of the business now, doing social and podcasting and video and stuff like that, and then get to work with guys like Scott Hoyt and have fun along the way. And you're never too old to work on your fastball. And so if I didn't have anything to do other than golf and fish and travel and stuff, I'd be bored. So having this PR practice has been really fun. And the nice thing is I can work on we can work on this stuff that is fun and matters. And if it doesn't work for us, it doesn't work. And so thank you very much, and let me help you find somebody else.
I love that. So we had a lot of people in the room tonight, from Scott Hoyt to Wendy Early, and I didn't see Sniper Mel for a long time, saying hello to you as well. I didn't get to say hi when we were talking, but I do appreciate everyone who is coming tonight, saying hi to Tom and I. on the pod. Tom, I want to ask you some rapid fire and fun questions.
Okay.
What's the best PR campaign you've ever seen?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's so hard. I mean, some of the ones that I remember the most are ones that a lot of the people in your chat or that watch your podcast won't remember. But I'll give you one that I was involved in, and not to suggest that was one of the best PR campaigns ever, but it was a good one. But it's taught in Harvard Business School now is what happened when Tylenol had their product tainted, and people were dying because they were ingesting Tylenol that some crazy person had infused with poison. And and what they did right was they, as you should do in any crisis, own the issue, own it. If it's happened on your watch or to your brand, you own it. You don't deflect. You don't speak until you know what you're speaking about. You have full command of the facts. And then you explain what you're going to do about it. And that's where they really hit it out of the park. Because what they did wasn't just brand messaging. They changed the way they package their products. And so every tamper-resistant seal that you see in stores or in a pharmacy today had its origin back when Tylenol got hammered with this horrible thing. And from the tragedy, they developed a new way of selling and packaging over-the-counter medicine. And that has saved probably millions of lives. Well, maybe not, maybe millions, maybe, who knows? But they didn't run from the problem. They took ownership of it, and they knew they were going to take it. And someone once told me, you earn credibility one person at a time, and you lose it thousands of people at a time. And so they stemmed the tide and their market share went up. I think a year or two later, it was better than it had been prior to the deal. One that I was involved in that I was proud of how we handled it was Holland America was a big client of ours at one point. And before anyone had ever heard of a thing called Norwalk virus, it attacked one of their cruises in the Caribbean, and you've got 3,000 people on a ship contained, and several hundred of them, many of them elderly, were afflicted with this horrible stomach bug. And no one knew there was a thing called the NLV virus. All they knew was that it happened on a Holland America ship. And without getting too crass, the name that was being bandied about in the press and social circles was the barf boat. And it was horrible. And they have a wonderful reputation. And so we helped them out of that crisis by explaining what happened and then explaining what they were going to do to fix it. A, we're going to make good for any passenger that was impacted. And B, we're going to take the ship out of service for 2 weeks at a cost of tens of millions of dollars to them, to deep scrub and clean it, cleaner than any ship has ever been cleaned ever. And during that 2-week period, other cruise lines started having the same thing happen. And then it was like, oh, maybe it's not a Holland America problem. It's a virus. But because of that, Holland America developed an earned reputation of being a company that A, took care of its customers, and B, worked to find solutions to difficult problems. And there's a pretty standard playbook for when you are faced with a crisis, and it follows some of those same tenets. Own it, find out what the facts are, be clear, be transparent, and tell what you're going to do to fix it.
What's the worst PR advice you've ever received?
Don't take Jeff Bezos's offer to sell his company to you. No. The worst PR advice. Worst PR advice. I wouldn't say it's advice so much as I don't know what category I'd put this in, but I saw a lot of instances over my career where people would set their hair on fire on what they thought was a horrible PR problem.
Yeah.
And if you just accept that at its face value, then you can go into a rabbit hole. And earlier in my career, my first response would be, "Oh my God, yes, that's horrible, that's terrible." But the more I got in terms of experience in the business, the more I realized that a lot of times what may seem like a horrible PR problem to, Joe Blow or Susan Smith and, that part of the company, when you really dig into it, it's maybe not as bad as they think it is. Well, how many people have, written to you with an incendiary comment? Is it 5 people or is it 5,000 people? Oh, it's 15. Okay, this is not a PR crisis. Then it's a problem, but it's not a crisis yet. I think the worst advice is probably, I do remember one time at Microsoft where we thought something was going to die out early.
Yeah.
And I just accepted that as gospel from the people that kind of owned the problem. And it didn't die out early. It got bigger, and it got bigger fast. And once the wildfire starts, it's really hard to put that out.
What mistakes should young communicators avoid at all cost, in your opinion?
I'm old school, but I would encourage people to never lose sight of the power that good writing can have. I don't care if AI is involved or not. A human being has to see it and edit it. And if you're new and starting out and you send a crappy cover letter or a mistake riddled, communique, it is your brand. And if you allow that to happen, then it doesn't put you in good standing, whether you're looking for a job or trying to advance into your job. And the other thing I would strongly encourage is, if you are presented with an opportunity, particularly at a big company, a.k.a. Microsoft, to do something new, and this happened to me 5 times in my 18 years, have your first inclination be take the job.
Yeah.
It never hurts your standing to be seen as someone willing to get out of their comfort zone and try something new, even if it is brand new territory. And the people that continually say, "No, I'm good, I'm comfortable," are the ones that don't get looked at in the future. So take a chance, jump in the pool, the deep end even.
Yeah, I agree. Tom, we almost went through the hour, but I still have a couple questions to ask you. If you could host this show, who would you invite and why?
Wow. I would invite somebody who is dedicated or interested in disrupting something, or maybe creating an eruption. Like I don't care if it's one-man band or a one-woman band. Even better if they've had to overcome obstacles or hurdles. And I'm just going to go back to this. If this is someone that has a disability, for example, and they took the disability and made it into something better for people, I want to hear from that person. Like, who's the person that invented the seats that para-Olympian skiers ski in? I ski occasionally, not very well, at a mountain in Oregon called Mount Bachelor. And I see these people skiing and they've lost the use of their legs, but they are phenomenal skiers. And somebody had to help develop the technology that allowed them to do that and to be enjoying the outdoors in that way. And,
Crazy.
I want to hear from people that enable other people to do great and fun things.
I would love that. I have someone who comes to my class. She's on a wheelchair and she does Zumba.
Yeah.
So That's
I mean,
such an amazing thing.
those stories are amazing, and God bless them. And I question whether I could do that. Like, God, could I do that? I hope I could, but
It's such an amazing thing to see. I love that. I love that. I love this idea a lot. Tom, what do you want people to ask you, but they never do?
Why aren't you a better golfer? No, that's because I'm not a very good golfer. I love the game way more than it loves me.
Scott is a better golfer.
Scott's a golfer too. So's Nick. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we're tortured people.
Oh,
I really enjoy talking to young people that are trying to chart their path. So I would always entertain the question from somebody who wants to learn, how did you do it? What should I pay attention to? What do you think is important? That would be right up there.
I love it. I have one more question that I ask everybody before they leave the episode. What's a secret or something that you did at a young age, but you never spoke of, you want to share tonight on the Game Changers?
Well, if it's a secret, why would I want to share it on Game Changers?
Because it's the Game Changers.
Oh, I already told a good one when I explained how I lied through my teeth to get my first job. I guess.
Let's find another.
Does it have to be professional?
No, it doesn't have to be professional. It can be something that personal.
I remember the night that I graduated from high school. I was backing my parents' car out of the driveway to drive myself to and I cracked into their other car.
Oh.
And I dented both cars and never told them about it because we had a rule in my family that if you put a dent in the car or get a moving violation, you lose your driving privileges. And so I was pretty honest growing up, but I never told them that I dented the cars. And
what did you tell them? Who did that?
Well, I never did tell my dad. I just forgot to tell him. I think I told my mom when she was very close to, passing away, and she thought it was funny. Of course, it was 50 years ago. So, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, Scott wants
No, Scott. Tom is saying no. Is there something that he's not sharing?
He needs a hobby. I mean, seriously. I don't even know. If he puts a clue in the chat, I might.
Scott put a clue in the chat. I love that. I love this friendship, Tom. That's really amazing. Like both of you are such a light.
That makes one of us.
Yeah, you're both such a light in the industry.
Oh no, he's great. And you know what? Honestly, he's been a great friend, and the client is secondary to just the friendship that we've enjoyed for a long time.
I agree. Like when you first sent me an email about having Scott on the show, it was such an honor to just start talking to you, getting to know Scott. Like I really cannot wait to see Scott at the expo if he makes it, and I hope you can make it too.
Well,
to the expo this year.
If you see a figure in a gorilla costume playing the recorder. It might.
You have to wear a gorilla costume too?
No. I just would want to go incognito.
Now way. Does it? No way. Does it click? No way. Does it click anything? No, it doesn't click. So we're gonna keep it.
No way.
No way. So we're not gonna talk about that secret then. Maybe at the expo we can talk about it. Scott.
Well, maybe he'll tell me what the secret is, and then I'll decide. But I'm an open book.
I know, of course. Tom, before I wrap up, please tell everybody the best way to connect with you online and where they can follow your work.
I'm on Instagram, TomPhil59. I am reachable through my company, Upstream Communications, and my email is Tom at Upstream Comms with 2 M's. And you can always get a hold of me through Hoyt at Fantasy Sports. He just reminded me of the embarrassing moment.
Well, if you want to share it, it's up to you.
Sure, I'll give you the quick story.
Let's hear that.
Tom at upstreamcomms.com. Let me just finish that part.
Yes, please.
I was with Scott Hoyt in Las Vegas many years ago. And you know how they construct the casinos so that you never know where you are, where the exits are to get out, to find safety. I think NR Philly knows the story too. And Scott, as Scott is wont to do, left his wingman, me, at a bar, and I believe it was a Jägermeister. I don't drink Jägermeister, but I had some that night, and I was a little confused getting out of the hotel to get back to the hotel that I was staying at, but I really wanted to get back to my hotel. So I walked outside, got in a cab. Cab drove me about 350 feet because my hotel was next door, and I didn't know that. And it was an expensive cab ride for a walk that would have taken maybe 35 to 45 seconds.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, no. And so Scott thinks that's the funniest thing he's ever heard.
Of course. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. I can't believe he didn't tell you that it's really like closed. Like that's wow.
No, it was a $50 cab ride for about 100.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I couldn't tell you what the hotels were. I was just
of course not, but still, it's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. What happened in Vegas, stay in Vegas. I'm happy that you shared it tonight on the show. Anything else you want to say before we close the show for tonight, Tom?
Nope. I just thank you for having me, and I enjoy listening to your podcasts. And for anyone out there who's been both a winner and a loser in fantasy football, that's just how it goes.
Yes, 100%. That's how it goes. I hope to see you at the expo. Scott is saying that he's going to be there. I cannot wait to see him face to face. Until then, thank you for joining me for this episode of The Game Changers. If today's conversation gave you a fresh perspective on fantasy football or the game of life, do me a favor, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. I read them all. Mark your calendar and join me next Wednesday with James SEO for more game-changing conversations. Big thank you for JC for the behind-the-scene magic and the powerhouse of the TSA team for making this platform possible, for reminding me that I was muted as well at the beginning of the episode. Who knew? If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a review, and follow us on social media. Until next time, keep challenging the game and making your mark. This is Carla signing off with Tom. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.